Welcome to Strange Familiars. Allison,
Yes.
did you miss me?
Oh, yeah.
Sounded very convincing.
You mean like when you went to the bathroom like a couple minutes ago, or when you were gone for a week?
I was in Indiana. That's
Yeah.
why there was no show last week.
Oh, I thought you were just being lazy.
But I'm going to try to do an extra show to make up for that one, an extra show for everyone. We'll see if I can get it done. I think I can.
Use your little engine that could powers.
Tonight's show, however, was recorded in Indiana, in the very house. If you remember our In the Shadow of the Witch Digger shows, we were talking about the new activity that was occurring around there. There was a elderly man who said that monkey men came into his house, climbed through the windows, just like the original story, the original Witch Digger story from the 1800s. We stayed at that house, and tonight's show is a roundtable Tyler, John, and I recorded while we were staying there in that house.
During your great Hoosier Hokum festivities.
Indiana is lovely, at least southern Indiana. I love it. It's a wonderful place, wonderful people, and I had another great time there. Yeah, we did run into some more. Woo! The other was present while we were there. So we will be talking about that as much as we could and more. We're halfway through Squatchtober, though, Allison. Mm-hmm. Yes. So if you've been following Squatchtober on the various socials, Facebook and Instagram, and of course the Strange Familiars Patreon and Discord, I'm happy to say every single one is sold out. Most have sold out within minutes of listing them, so it's very, very nice. I'm excited about that. But we're halfway through. You still have, 15?
More than 15, right? What's today?
Today's the 16th.
Yeah. So we are officially like halfway.
Yeah, so 15 more. So you got 15 more chances to get a piece of original Squatchtober art.
You haven't even completed them yet, have you?
Oh, no.
So you have to make like the Halloween one be banging, right?
Oh, my gosh. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. I have an idea of what I might do for that one, but we'll see.
But all the rest of them are still up in the air.
Yeah. So check that out. I list them every day. I list them on Patreon first, because patrons should get first crack at things. Then they go on the Discord. Then they are either on Facebook or Instagram. Or you can just go right to our Etsy shop and look for them there. And if you hear noise in the background, that's our rabbit celebrating my return. Mm-hmm. She's at least happy I'm home. Got to make noise to be on the podcast. So yeah, Squatchtobers, I'm having a lot of fun doing those. And I think I might do maybe Monstrous March. And it won't just be limited to Bigfoot then.
You do a lot of different monsters.
Yeah. I'll aim to do that. And then I can't see not doing Squatchtober next year as well.
People have to do like February, right? Don't they do that?
I think that's Brett does that.
Is that Brett doing that?
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
She definitely does that. Thanks to everybody who's gotten a Squatchtober drawing, and look out for more. There's more coming. I'm having great fun doing it. All right, let's go ahead and get to this conversation that John and Tyler and I had in the Monkey Man house. Welcome to Strange Familiars, recorded live in the house where the monkeys climb through the windows.
I was going to say the monkey house.
The Monkey Man Manor.
All these monkey men jumping on the bed.
Monkey Man Manor. We have not seen any monkey men in this house yet.
No. We are here in Indiana within spitting distance of the Witch Digger property at the house where the old fella said that the monkey men climbed through the window.
And we were just asked an hour ago by the son-in-law of the man in question, who was kind enough to rent us the house for the week. Anything happened in that house yet since you've been there? He was curious to see if we've experienced anything in here.
Yeah. Tyler and I thought we heard a door open on the first night.
First night. And I don't know, it's still clear in my mind. I know, as you've said, Tim, that we kind of were waiting to adjust to the sounds of the house, which I feel like we have pretty well so far. But I still distinctly remember when we were all settled in for the night, because we were tired from the drive. We were all in our separate rooms. And I thought one of you, or maybe both of you, had walked outside the house because I heard the door slam.
Yeah, so we were getting like real-time live reports. A couple people knew we were here, and they're sending us reports. Hey, there's northern lights in Indiana right now, and there's people are seeing UFOs, and so you thought we had gone out to check it out.
Yeah, because we had almost decided, like we were driving for almost 8 hours or so.
Yeah.
And even though we drove 8 hours, we still almost went out into the field to go observe, see what we saw. But we decided, probably best to rest up. But then these reports came in and almost pushed us. Go, well, this is happening tonight. So I thought maybe you guys popped out to see that, just to go. Is it outside?
Look at this guy, kind of thing. Yeah.
But no, we never left. We were all in our rooms.
We didn't, and you and I were kind of texting back and forth, like, what is that? Because John was quickly asleep.
I was out cold. I woke up the next morning to the text thread of you guys bouncing back and forth.
But
are you hearing this?
Yeah.
So, while I said, have been saying, like, well, we need to get used to the sounds of this house, the other nights we've stayed here, I've not heard anything like that.
Yeah.
For whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, it was very distinct to me that it was a door closing, like slamming. I thought it was the outside door. But like I said, I thought at the time it was maybe you guys, but that's why after you asked, they were like, is John asleep? Or it seemed like you never left your room. And then like when I heard that, I was like, hey, did you go outside? Like, you hear that door close, and you had heard that too. So I'm like, well, it wasn't John. He's asleep.
Yeah.
And I never moved. So if none of us moved, what would that have been?
I don't know. Like I said, for whatever it's worth, not heard that sound again.
Yeah.
So.
It's been an awesome trip, though, so far. And I think, just to get out of the way, just to say, as impressive as the phenomena is here, I am more surprised every time at how incredible the people are here.
It is...
It's pretty amazing.
For whatever reason, and I believe this has to do with BS family drama and possible trauma. I hate to use the word trauma, but just remnants of my family growing up. I personally sometimes have difficulty processing kindness to the point where it sometimes can bring me to tears, like kindness in a way, because I'm just like... And it's not that I'm doubting the kindness. I'm accepting the kindness. But it's... I don't want to say it's alien to me, because it's not like I've never had kindness. But there's a genuineness to this kindness that literally almost moves me to tears, because it's... I'm like... In a way, I guess it's kind of like, what did I do to deserve this?
Sure.
Like, and it's amazing. Like, I love these people.
Yeah.
I love these people. So... We have our original witnesses we talked to, who we called John and Julie for the show, and this other set of witnesses, who are their neighbors, who actually own the property where the witch digger's house was. So the first time, John and Julie helped us find a cabin to stay at that wasn't far away, and this time, this other family are letting us stay in this house, where it's vacant otherwise, where the monkey men, quote unquote, came through the window. The guy that had him climb through the window, and he ran out, and they ran over to a nearby field, and they found him like under a piece of farm equipment after they couldn't figure out where he was. He called his son and said, help, and then they went looking for him. Dialed his cell phone, they could hear it in the distance, and that's how they ended up finding him. That's just a reminder of what happened. And when they found him, he said these monkey men climbed through the windows. Like, such a bizarre detail. And it lines up with the original witch digger story. And that's what really kind of broke this all open in the minds of the witnesses here. And for us, like with this modern phenomenon mirroring what they were talking about in 1895, because when this happened, they had no clue about that story. They had never heard it.
Well, it's also interesting, too, just to note that the original event back in the 1800s, the monkey men coming through the window, was like the beginning of the whole thing. Like they didn't believe in any of this, didn't have the monomania, as it were, until that event happened. So it's almost like a repeat symbolically of the beginning of this whole trip, because it begins with that one incident. Like it's repeating the first step.
Yeah.
And now here we are. sipping coffee and tea
Digging witches.
inside of a monkey man house.
We attempted to do a roundtable last night, and I will listen through to it. It's definitely the whole thing is not airable, not because we said anything inappropriate, but just because we were in the woods around a fire, and we kept getting distracted. We kept hearing things. It was late, and it ended up descending into a bit of silliness. But
I don't think our brains were working that well.
We were a bit punchy.
yeah, so if I could salvage any of that, I'll play it. Probably at the end of this episode, I'll try to put it in there.
That's funny.
But I do want to repeat one of the topics we were talking about, because this is something we talked about on the way here, and it's come up at least once while we were here, and in a way more than once. And that is, why do we do this? And the fact that we put ourselves in these situations, we put ourselves in these spots that I would say the majority of people don't even believe
Sure.
it's real. Many that do believe it are like, why would you do that? You know? And a lot of people who have experienced it and know it, your knowers versus your believers, are like, I never want to experience that again.
Yeah.
And yet we're once again like, last night we camped in the spot in the woods, not only next to the field where we saw this giant fireball last time we were here, but where John said he has his most intense encounters. If you remember the story, the show we did with John and Julie, said he was screamed at there. So there's the part of the woods he feels really uncomfortable in. We camped right there. Like, let's go there and camp. So the question is, like,
What's wrong with us, Tim?
yeah,
Is there a piece of our brain that's fried?
are we wired differently? Are we wired wrongly? Like what's going on there? So I wanted to talk about that. Like, why are we grown men hunting monsters in the woods?
Yeah. And we believe this witness, and
Yeah.
despite the fact that we believe him, we decide to put ourselves in the center of where he experienced what he experienced.
He believes it to the point where I got a text this morning. They wanted to know if we were okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
they were concerned that we were sleeping there. So, it was an interesting night. Woke up.
So we should lay out. John's sleeping in a hammock. I'm in a tent. Tyler's in a tent. I know nylon is not a real protection from anything. Anything that wants to get through that is going to get through that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I like that little wall, that thin little wall. And John's like, nah, I'm just going to sleep in a hammock.
So I got a hammock strung between two trees. It was a little cold. And I woke up, and I'm guessing something happened prior to this to wake me up, because I woke up, I was awake for a second, and then I hear crashing through the woods just above us on the ridge. That was sustained. It wasn't like something stepped on something.
It happened for quite, because I was awake. I didn't know if either you two were awake.
Yeah,
and
likewise.
I was just laying there listening to it.
I wasn't. I don't think I heard any of
It was
this.
going on for a while.
It was noisy
And it
enough.
sounded close.
Yeah, and it felt like it was getting closer, because it would crack, and then I felt like it cracked again a little closer. And I didn't know if these guys were awake either, but it was unnerving enough that I didn't want to bring attention to myself by saying, hey, you guys awake?
Yeah.
So I laid there very still, but I did check my phone, and it was 3:30 a.m. And
The time of the knocks at Pandemonium.
is it really?
Yeah.
Huh.
A lot of stuff happens around that time.
Well then. Anyway, I had one hand. I had checked my phone, put it back in my pocket, and then I had my other hand on my flashlight in case I needed to check for something. But being in a hammock, if anyone slept in a hammock before, I basically am sunk down in a hammock, so I have a bit of like a wall of nylon up on either side of me, and I can see the sky and the trees above, but I can't look left or right and see anything without doing some significant movement. So I just sort of chilled there and listened.
I picture you like trying to swing and you're like spinning around.
Yeah. The last thing I'm going to do is fall out of it.
We wake up, your head smashed on the ground, but it's just because you're trying to spin. Like, oh my God, they got him.
Yeah.
I had some trouble sleeping. We shouldn't have. We did a super long hike yesterday.
Yeah.
For those who are familiar with the original Witch Diggers article, they mentioned Rocky Ravine, where they saw the wild man holding the axe. In the original article we talked about, we hiked through Rocky Ravine and followed the creek that runs through it all the way around to where the witch diggers were digging. We got a little off track too, so it was an extra long hike.
I wanted to film Rocky Ravine, and then I wanted the film to be smooth, as if it was like a nice walkthrough video. And then I quickly realized in order to do that, I'd have to walk through the water. So I was not dressed for the water, but I took one.
It was at least thigh high. And at some point I look over, I'm like, it's getting deeper. I hope he doesn't have his phone in.
I said, Tyler's taking one for the team. All right.
It was a little chilly, but
Meanwhile, we were sidestepping.
And then it very much devolved into a very grueling hike through thorns. And
there were parts of it that the one part at the power lines. I believe my descriptor was bleak.
Yeah.
Like walking through there.
Well, in our neck of the woods, a lot of our power lines are maintained through mowing. So based on the map, I expected we're going to get to the power lines, cross it pretty easily, and maybe even walk up the power line section where it would be nice and clear. But when we got there, we realized that they're actually maintaining that power line section through helicopter herbicide spraying. So it was basically like a death zone of young maples that were 12 feet tall, tons of grasses that we had to push through, lots of multiflora rows full of thorns. My legs are all ripped up. You were bleeding from multiple points.
I bled on the land. The witch digger's land.
Tyler's got poke marks in it.
I have these weird blisters on my arm from where they stabbed me. I've never seen that with thorns before.
Yeah.
I'm looking at them right now.
They were tearing at us.
That blister could be poison ivy, but
is it?
It's possible.
It was never itchy though for me.
Yeah, maybe it is just the thick thorns.
Should I cut those open?
No, you should not.
Why not?
Your body knows what to do with it. Trust your body.
Oh, well.
Your body will appreciate not being cut open further.
All right.
So, that was rough going, and we basically had to traverse to the following side.
That section in particular and it wasn't that wide. We'll be talking like 75 yards maybe across there, maybe not even that.
Yeah, it wasn't far across, but it really was
just bleak,
thick and somewhat impenetrable. I think Tyler, found a deer path across.
Yeah.
So we were able to find a game trail that crossed it, and that made it a little easier to get to the other side.
Just bleak. It's just like everything just being dead and just like brown.
Yeah.
Coming out of the nice green woods.
Yeah.
And walking along a creek, and we come into this just bleak, dead zone and just thorn. Miserable. A miserable 75 yards that took us a long time to get through.
Yeah.
Like that took us a long, long time to push through that.
And then we even had to walk through a cornfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we got to the side, we figured we could push through the tree line there to an open field and just circumvent the cornfield in the boundary to that, which would be a little more walkable, which we did, and then back into the woods to eventually make our way north back to the witch digger site where we intended to end up much sooner, but we basically got there.
And run around.
I do want to say I've always on the walk through a cornfield. That was the first time I ever walked through a cornfield. Did you know that?
Wow, no kidding.
It's cool. I didn't think it was that easy. I thought corn cuts you up and stuff, but no. It was actually, if I lived near cornfields, I'd be in them all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
I would be hiding in cornfields all the time.
I played in them as a kid.
Yeah, I've been playing and running through cornfields since I was 5.
They're awesome.
Yeah,
I'd do it now. If I lived near cornfields, I'd just be hiding in the
greatly
center.
prefer going through the corn than through that dead zone.
Just know if anybody's in a cornfield, if there's anyone like me, you're going to find them somewhere.
Well, as a kid at my grandparents' house, we would play hide and seek, and there would be like cornfield.
How cool!
On their property was cornfield to north and south, woodland to the east, and it was just hide and seek. Off you go, me and the cousins, and
that's awesome.
You may find us in the corn in the woods. Behind
it would be
shed.
so hard.
It was an epic day long hide and seek.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. So we made it to the witch digger site. And then we eventually made our way back to the road so we could sort of complete the loop and get back to our vehicle where we parked it originally.
Yeah. And we set up camp.
So that was a long
day.
Long hike.
And yeah, I should have been well tired last night, but I kept waking up. Besides that crashing, I heard some interesting howls. I thought they were around the same time, but I was in and out of sleep. They were distant though. Those weren't close. Those were distant. And I did hear. I forgot to tell you guys this. So we had the normal owls, the Who Cooks for You owl.
Yeah.
And then I think so. Alex told us about the giant owls.
Uh-huh.
I heard an owl that was so low and so powerful that I can only imagine it's one of his giant owls.
Wow.
Oh man.
Now he's not talking about a 7-foot owl. You know,
Yeah.
he with his hands said like something like, you know, like he motioned with his hands, which would be like the very like gigantic side of like a great horned, right?
Yeah.
But the biggest possible.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And we have said in the past like everything here does seem a little bigger, so maybe it was one of those, you know, quote unquote giant owls. I don't know, but that came definitely more towards morning. It was close enough to morning where I was like, oh, that owl's going off there.
Were those coyotes in the morning? I heard all kinds of crazy shit.
There were coyotes in the morning, yeah.
I'm
Coyotes.
like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
They sounded odd to me, like when I was like half awake.
Yeah.
Coyotes have such a variety of vocalizations, though.
Yeah, they've got a lot of sounds.
Yeah. So this goes back to that original question I was getting to. Like, why do we do this? And why do we keep coming back? We have seen here several UFOs. Lights in the sky that are not planes and do not act like planes, do not fly in the same patterns as planes. And we saw more the previous night, but we saw one good one right before we went down to the campsite. And we hear this crashing in the morning. And I hear these giant owls and these howls, which I couldn't identify. The ones I'm talking about were not coyote. They were definitely something else. I'm not going to guess what they were, but you know. And then for half the day, we're kind of like, oh, not much happened last night. And at some point,
Our brains are borked.
I stopped and I was like, had this been like early days for me getting into this stuff, I would have literally paid for that experience, what we had last night. And we were so used to this that we're like, oh yeah, not much happened. We saw a UFO.
Yeah.
We heard something big and unknown crashing right up to our campsite.
Yeah.
Weird howls and very big owls, whether they were natural or not, is you know, I'll lean towards natural, but they sounded very big and powerful. And we're like, that was a pretty uneventful night. What is wrong with us?
There's something wrong with us.
It's funny. It makes me think of, we asked the granddaughter of the man who was besieged in the monkey house we're in. His granddaughter is next door as well. We asked her about the UFO phenomenon we've seen in the skies here on multiple occasions. Like, have you seen these? What are your thoughts on these? And she basically said, well, I don't know. It's just something we kind of grew up with. Like, we've seen them enough, we don't think about them anymore.
Yeah.
And
What
so
the sky looks like here.
there's so much stuff happening here in Indiana that we experienced on the last trip, and then again on this trip, is that it's like we're now used to it.
Yeah.
Like our scale of reaction has been adjusted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's almost like when you kind of goes hand in hand with how they feel when you see them, like almost like a natural phenomenon. But it's like, you know, every time I see fireflies in the summer, it's amazing to me and it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. But it's also fireflies.
Right.
And it kind of has that effect now where it's like it's always wonderful and amazing. But it just feels natural. So maybe that's part of it too, is like maybe it's just a different worldview too that we've adopted, that it's like we've come to terms with it in a way where it's like, well, this is part of our reality, so therefore it's normalized, you know. And it's so I don't know, there's so many different ways you could take it, but I think there's something interesting to be speculated with. It's, you know, are we wired in a weird way, you know? Is it these environments that enact on the brain in a certain way? I think there's elements of that. So in my experience, all these different little towns that have concentrations of high strangeness, there is a strange phenomena that I think is enacting on the way people think and feel about it. It's almost like it goes right under everyone's radar. They see it, but it's not perceived. It's odd. And I don't know if there's just an element where you're in this bubble, and in that bubble, like a lot like dreams don't really seem so absurd when you're in them.
Ask a fish what is water.
You're right.
Yeah.
So I think it's part of that. It's almost like, I don't know, between the hospitality of the people here and the high strangeness occurring in the skies and on the ground level, it's almost like you're in the dream. And when you're in the dream, it doesn't really seem that absurd until you wake up. And
to the point where the longer you talk to people, the more things they bring out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, oh yeah, there's this other thing. And oh yeah, there's this other thing. And oh yeah, there's this other thing. You know,
it's incredible.
We're talking with our host family today, and they're just like, oh yeah, did you tell them about this? Oh yeah, and what about that?
Yeah.
And it's just they're just recalling one thing after another.
Yeah.
The other thing I will say about putting ourselves in the heart of this stuff, and it's something I think about a lot, is for me, there is an addictive nature to it. And I don't know if you guys feel the same, but it's not concerning. It feels to me similar to if I don't hike for a long time, I'll get this like feeling like I need to hike. I need to be out there, and I'll get this sort of like pull to go hike. It feels similar to that. So that's not a bad thing, you know what I mean? But it does feel like there's almost like an addiction. Like I got to get out there again. I got to get out there again.
Is it an addiction or a calling?
Well, there you go. Yeah, maybe it's just that's a better way of putting it.
And I think
I think the sort of the negative way to look at it is, maybe it's an addiction.
Sure.
Maybe I'm addicted to this. Maybe that's the more positive way to put it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a calling.
You know, I think, you know, on the more positive note, to look at it like a calling, it's like I think we've been touched by this thing, and things like, why wouldn't you want to experience something that touched you in this way? And I think that goes hand in hand where, you know, I know we've talked about the way fear plays a role in this and how fear seems to be, I don't know, rewired. But to me, I don't know, I have an interesting relationship with fear where, like, I don't get the negative feeling from fear. I get exhilaration, and there's almost like a positive feeling. But it's that same interaction. It's an energy, and I think it puts you in an altered state. But it's not a negative thing. Like, fear doesn't equate to negativity.
Certainly not always.
Not always. Yeah.
I'm trying to put myself there because
it's hard to explain.
And I've mentioned this on the show before.
Yeah.
Like, there are times where I've definitely been scared out there.
Sure.
But I'm able to stay. I can't think of a time where I've run. You know, I'm able to push through it. You know, not long after that crash, and I had to get up and pee. Mm-hmm. you know, I had to go out there.
Yeah.
I did it. I wasn't happy about it. You know what I mean? But I did it, and I was fine. So it's like that, you know. But then when you push through it, there's like this reward.
There is a reward. Yes,
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's like exercise. It's uncomfortable when you're going through it.
Yeah.
But then when you're done, you go, "Wow, look at what I did." And then it's almost like the memory of like everything that maybe in the moment you're out of your mind. You know, in the sense where it's like you're hyper focused. You're looking around. Maybe you're paranoid in the woods. But then that whole moment, all the things you experienced out there, it's like, wow, I did that, and I connected with that. I was out there in the night. Like that was me.
Yeah.
I was the one out there conversing, you know, or just playing with the wilderness in this way. And I think there's something to that. Like you said, I think that's the perfect way to put it. There's a reward for confronting that fear that people have.
Is it you who quotes the Joseph Campbell so often about the cave?
Yes.
What's the quote again?
Yeah, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, like the fear, in the moments of fear, like the fear may not feel very good in the moment, but it triggers an aliveness.
Absolutely.
And that aliveness feels pretty good.
It absolutely does.
I think
So like that feeling of aliveness, the intense feeling is like that for me is the reward.
Yeah, there are times where I feel present in a way that I can only imagine. It's like that Zen idea of be here now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like this, like it triggers this, like almost this primal awareness.
And there are a few times in my life where I get that, and during these times are definitely one of them. a good hike will do it to me too. So that's why I think I keep comparing it to hiking, because hiking is like a very peaceful thing for me. It's maybe it's like the flip side of this coin, but it's the same thing where I'll just like, I'm there and I'm in the moment. I'm lost in that hike in the sense that the outside world kind of falls away, and it's my happy place. Yeah, it's very, very, very similar. I think that's a good point.
You know what I'm thinking about is how the other night we were in the field and we hear this really prolonged, unearthly wail. And then the second it was done, it's like we just laughed. Like, oh my god! Like it's so,
We were laughing so hard.
We were laughing so hard. Like so many other people have been so scared. but it's that exhilaration. It was like it's like endorphins or because we heard this unearthly wail.
That's exactly what it is.
It was like, holy what the hell is that? This is actually happening.
But there's like a weird humor. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like we just.
I don't even know if it was like laughing
Like,
at it. It was definitely some humor, but it was almost like intense joy as well. Like,
It is. I don't know how to explain that, but that's like it's good that we're talking about it. Again.
Yeah,
it's like I don't know. I don't really know how to phrase it. But to use an actual example, like that's what happened. Like the other night.
The outside observer watching that moment, though.
Like insane people, like insanity, like.
That's funny.
3 witches cackling in a field. There's just some unearthly wail like, like what is that?
God.
Like what even is that? It makes no sense at all. It's like a bunch of ghoul people. Like if anyone else saw it, it'd be like I saw the silhouettes of 3 ghouls in this field.
I mean, maybe we're slowly turning into the other. You know?
I think we might be.
Maybe our cackling in the field 2 field over, and that's somebody else.
That's part of this is part of my speculation of what's occurring here.
We're slowly turning into the ghouls.
We're becoming more and more ghoulish as time goes on.
Eventually,
we're eating ants. Literally.
well, that's not so unusual for me.
We were at the Hexenkopf Rock, and John finds these ants on the ground. He's like, you can eat these. I'm like, let's eat some ants. I'll eat some ants if you do. And we both ate bugs. That's ghoulish, baby. It's not normal.
It's kind of cool.
crawling on the rock like Gollum.
Eating leaves out in the field every time we're here now. We're just eating stuff from the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, we made some good tea, though.
We made some good tea.
We found, so on the long hike yesterday, I have to say those turkey tails were some of the nicest.
They're nice and lush.
I don't think I've ever seen them that I guess fresh or new or they were nice.
All this rain they've had here recently just like flushed them out. It was really harvesting those at the perfect time.
Yeah.
If you like Strange Familiars and you'd like to help us continue to make the show and get more content besides, you can become a patron at Patreon. It's patreon.com/strangefamiliars. All of our patrons get commercial-free episodes of the weekly shows, as well as extra content. We do at least one full extra episode every month for our patrons. Sometimes we do more. Again, it's patreon.com/strangefamiliars. We also have a program on Apple Podcast, a subscription program there. It's called Patron of the Strange. Our Apple Podcast subscribers get the weekly shows without commercials and the bonus shows monthly as well.
Our sort of tradition here is to harvest things from the land, make tea before we go out. The idea, and we've talked about this before, but I love this idea and I think it's important to go over again. I've been talking about it more since then. It is imbibing the land, right? Because one of the things we noticed about the people here is they have such a connection to the land. And they have that connection because they live here all the time. And how do we sort of catch up to them quickly, is our idea. And one of the ways we thought is let's eat from the land. Let's ingest it. Let's put the land in us. we started that tradition. And last time we were here, there wasn't a lot coming up, right? It was early
Yeah, it
March.
was early March, and a lot of the early spring stuff hasn't started popping yet. This is what, November? So we've got, no, it's October.
October.
So we're in October. So we have all of the summer stuff still up, and there's just a lot more greenery around than, sort of the early March. Yeah, so a lot of times we'll make tea off the land, and we'll just pick 2 or 3 things. But this time I really just wanted almost like a full spectrum representation of what's growing. So if I come across a plant and I'm like, we can use this for tea, then we're going to use it. And so, there were more things that I'll probably remember in this tea, but we had those beautiful turkey tails we found. There was wild ginger roots, goldenrod. I'm drawing a blank on all of it. Goldenrod, rose hips. We had the oxalis. You see, this is when I started to think of the Latin names.
Wasn't there spice bush in there?
There was some spice bush in there, some sassafras leaves.
First night we had dandelion. Did we have that?
There was some dandelion in the tea. The wood sorrel.
Yeah, wood sorrel. Yeah.
Was the other one.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah, so a lot of different things, leaves and flowers.
It's incredible. It's really cool. I really look forward to that ritual that's developed.
It's a nice ritual.
And it is. It's a ritual. It is a developed practice. And I think that's how this stuff kind of forms organically. It's very interesting.
And it's a nice tea, but but drinking it, like the other ingredient in the tea is the intention that comes with drinking it. And I think that's an important aspect of it.
Yeah. And I've brought that home with me. The first thing I did when I got home from the last trip was go to Hex Hollow, find some spice bush, bring it home and make tea.
And what I find really special about it too, like as well as the intention, is that when all 3 of us are drinking it, it's giving all 3 of us something that we're all sharing as an experience. So it's almost like it brings us to a balancing point. And I think that's very important for people as a group to have an experience is to reach those states. And I think that's often throughout time been delivered that way through the sharing of things. And I think that's a very special thing. I always look forward to that. It feels very good.
Last night's tea was made on the fire by the campsite too.
Yeah, we did it right there on the site.
What is wrong with you?
What are you saying?
Just because we were talking about
so funny
what happened with us. I'm trying to think what else we wanted to cover. Oh man,
I should have brought it up earlier, but we don't. I just think that the horseman is the funniest, the craziest thing ever.
So I don't think we'd have time to dig out her original story that we interviewed her last time. But we could tell it quickly.
Yeah. Sure.
So the granddaughter of the man who was in the house where we're staying now told us the story last time about when she was 14 years old. She was staying in a friend's house and she saw this glowing horseman.
Yeah, like a man sitting on a horse out in a field. And it just stood there. She was visiting a friend. And they watched this thing for some time, like 15, 20 minutes. Like it just hung around, and it freaked them out. She kind of wanted to go home because it freaked her out. And it's funny because when she brought this story up, like a lot of people, when we interview them, you ever see anything weird? No, I never saw anything weird. So we interviewed her family who had experiences. And this girl was like, I never saw anything weird. But then her mom was like, well, what about the guy on the horse? And he's like, oh yeah, that glowing man on the horse on the field. Very easy to forget that glowing man on the horse. So, we kind of laughed about this. It's a very odd incident, mixed in with all the other things happening here. Well, we ended up going to the Historical Society today to try and dig up more information on the witch diggers.
See if they had any information at all. They weren't really able to give us anything that we didn't already have, but still worth visiting. It's like you got to kind of run down every lead you can, right? And that was another lead we had to check out. And
it was a cool visit, really cool building. I really like the layout. Yeah. It had a really cool vibe inside there, and
she ended up just giving us like a stack of books to take with us, like which may or may not be useful for our research, but super nice, right?
But while we're in there, she's looking through these papers, and she's like, "Okay, witch diggers," and she's flipping. She's like, "Oh, I have this on the headless horseman. And I'm like, and my ears are like, wait a minute. What headless horseman? I'm like, wait, can I look at that? You know, headless horseman.
Why don't you just read the article, or I'll read it if you want.
Yeah, wait. I have it on my phone here. So I'm like, so the second she said headless horseman, immediately I'm like, is that like her story? Like a horseman? Well, what is this about? You know, I'm thinking about Sleepy Hollow, though. It's like the only place I've heard about like a headless horseman. And then
there are headless horsemen all over the country.
Yeah, well, I know that now. But like this story, the title, The Headless Horseman of Finney Ford. In the days before there were permanent bridges in this area, the locals would scout out the shallowest river crossings. The crossings then became a part of the regular thoroughfare. People could ford the rivers or creeks at these locations and go forward on their way. As long as the creek didn't rise or a flood had caused a change in the riverbed, these areas were fairly accessible. One such ford was on the Finney property and was located near the present-day bridge south of Vernon before the highway splits into highways 3 and 7. Many of early Vernon's prominent citizens had the eerie opportunity to encounter the specter of a headless figure sitting atop a horse near the ford on the Finney property. It's absolutely what she was seeing. Like, this spectral horse. But anyway, there's this whole folklore story intertwined with this man who used to be a horse thief, who was allegedly, like, basically hunted down by a farmer and had his head cut off with a scythe. And then, then it ends with the line saying, the horse thief had grown tired of this town and was heading west to Vernon at the time of his decapitation. Apparently his spirit made it. Perhaps the thief enjoyed materializing for Vernon's solid citizens because it made him feel powerful, just like stealing. So beware of the headless horseman of Finney Ford, for it is a spirit without a conscience. Like, get out of here. That's so exact. Like, literally a spectral man on a horse. It's what people have been seeing. And she didn't know anything about this.
She didn't know.
We wouldn't even have known about it. This woman, interestingly, synchronistically, dare I say, just brings it up out of nowhere.
Well, the other interesting thing, the woman at the Historical Society, and not to leave the horseman story.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to come back to the horseman
Sure.
story. But, you know, I was kind of like, I came all the way from Pennsylvania. And she's like, oh, yeah? Yeah, and I said, you know, I'm looking for the information on the Bichler family. I said, you've heard of the witch digger? She's like, oh, we have a story about that. And she copied it off for me. And I said, yeah, I made friends with the people who live on that property, and we're visiting them. She said in this very sort of knowing way, she's like, I bet you're getting a lot more stories there, aren't you? I said, yeah, I am. She just smiled at me. She's like, yeah, I thought so.
That's so
interesting. Yeah, really, really interesting. So I don't know if she knows what's happening around here, or if she just has that vibe, or what's going on, but there was this like knowing kind of sort of like thing between us. She was like, bet you're getting a lot more stories there too, aren't you? I was like, yeah.
Really interesting.
So yeah. Back to the glowing horseman. The other thing I thought was super interesting is, and again, we had asked her if she'd seen anything weird. She came over here to drop off some produce for us. Again, just super nice people. She made us cookies. Like,
amazing.
Yeah. And we're talking to her while she's here, and she brings up this orb that she sees. A basketball-sized orb that she sees floating around and then shoots off over the tree. And you said, what color was it? She said it was kind of like a yellowish, kind of glowing color. And then you said, oh, I remember your story about the horseman from last time we were here, and you were talking, and you said, what color was that? You said it was glowing. She's like, oh, it was the same color as the orb.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. Really incredible story, and it adds, I don't know, such a weird layer of mystery here. Like, they have everything.
They do.
Yeah. They have everything here.
Including giant skeletons.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. Including giant skeletons.
Allison is at home doing research, and she sends me this article. She says, hey, make sure to visit the giant skeletons while you're out there. I'm like, what? And she sends me this article. Let me find it. One of the strangest contributions ever to come to hand tells of the existence in what is now Indiana, long before statehood and even before the Indians came here, of a mysterious giant mound builders race whose men were more than 9 feet tall. What's more, the contributor of this odd information, Helen W. Ox of Columbus, Indiana, wrote the evidence of their one-time existence here still remains near Brewersville, Jennings County. She quoted from the geological report many years ago on Jennings County by W. W. Borden that the remains of the largest work of those mound builders in that county were to be seen in the bluff 75 to 100 feet above Sand Creek in the Sand Creek Township. The report added, "It is a stone mound 71 feet in diameter, showing at this time the height of 3 to 5 feet above the surrounding surface. The exterior walls appear to be made of stones placed on edge, but the central portion did not show any regular arrangement of the stones. Mrs. Ox said the first discovery of human skeletal remains in that mound was made in 1865, when a farmer, getting a stone for a spring house, dug into a sort of tomb in which he found the skeleton of a small child. She quoted George M. Robinson, his son, saying the top of the mound was not less than 30 feet above the level of the surrounding ground. He added, I well remember the several large trees growing on top. One was a white oak, not less than 3 feet in diameter at the base. Discovery of the child's skeleton aroused much curiosity, causing several people to dig into the top of the mound and resulting in the finding of several other skeletons, Mrs. Ox added. Some of them were bound with perfectly preserved bands of cedar, wrapped around their chests, while others were charred, perhaps in observance of religious rites. They also had weapons with them. No intelligent investigative work was conducted there until 1879, 14 years after the discovery of the mound. The state geologist brought a couple of men, one from Cincinnati, one from New York, and Dr. Charles Green of North Vernon. They made quite an extensive examination. Among other things was found the skeleton of a man. It was intact, or rather, I might say, the bones were not scattered. It measured 9 feet 8 inches. There was a sort of necklace of mica lying around the neck and down across the breast. At the feet stood a sort of image made of burned clay, with pieces of flint rock embedded in it. Robinson kept that image and some of the bones. Mrs. Ox said that as late as 1937, bones of that giant were in a basket at the office of Keller Mill along Sand Creek, about a mile below the mound site. Kenneth Keller, grandson of Robinson, remembers the basket of bones. He said the bones were lost when the 1937 flood washed out the office. He said there were no signs of anything like pottery, no signs of metalworking of any kind, just simply the bones of a dead and gone race of human beings that we today know practically nothing about. We know not whence they came or where they went. Mrs. Ox said that the giant-like race had worked hard to entomb its dead. The rocks in the mounds had been placed end to end with no attempt to plaster or seal them together. Evidence that this mound was dug into has washed out until one-time graves are now smooth indentations on the leaf-covered ground. So there are mounds here. There are burial mounds that house giants. I'm conflicted on these giant stories.
Sure.
Mainly because there are so many stories in these old newspapers. And they almost always end with, and someone from the Smithsonian Institute came and took the bones away.
Yes. Yep.
To which many people believe, right? Many people believe that, to the point where, like, oh, the Smithsonian's hiding all this information from us. It mirrors the phenomena of UFO and Bigfoot. It mirrors the people that come and take evidence in the name of the government.
Yep. I agree.
And take it away. And today we go, oh, they were men in black. It wasn't really the government. People are like, or those two guys from the Bigfoot world.
Oh, they rubbed out the footprints and then they left.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
It mirrors that to the point where I'm like, well, yeah, I'm sure they said they were from the Smithsonian Institute.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think they were the expression of whatever that is, whatever that part of the phenomenon is that comes and takes evidence and makes evidence disappear. And once again, as I say in my disappearing evidence talk, whether it's taken by government agents and whisked away, whether it's Bigfoots that come out of the woods and claim they're dead and take them away, whether it's a black van that pulls up or a black helicopter that takes the evidence away, or whether it's in some, as if the Patterson Gimlin film, it's in some warehouse somewhere, whether it's in, quote, some warehouse somewhere or someone's attic somewhere, the end result is the same. We cannot put our hands on it to look at it. Nope. It is gone. It is so effectively disappeared. So, with these giant skeletons, I know many people are like, no, they were real races, but maybe they were. I'm not saying. But there's this aspect of the evidence going missing time and again that makes me think, okay.
Why leave it behind in the first place, too?
Right. There's something about it that ties it to these other things.
crafts a narrative, and it further crafts a conspiracy within the narrative.
Yep.
You know, the way everything. Wow, disappearing evidence. I haven't heard about that before.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So, you know, what they didn't have a CIA. They didn't have this idea of this all-powerful government that could come in and take evidence because they know already, and they're trying to hide it from us. What did they have in the 1800s? They had science, and science was new and scary. You know, Darwinism is just creeping in. These men of science who know more than you, are going to grab this stuff and take it away and hide it from you. Do I think the Smithsonian has a warehouse of giant skeleton bones they won't share with us? No.
Probably not.
Do I think there were giant skeleton bones in these mountains? Probably.
Probably.
Yes. Yeah.
Or at the very least, something temporarily made people think there were giant bones.
Exactly.
Whether those bones are real or not, you know, one could speculate.
So,
but
I believe people saw them.
Sure.
I believe they were there in some form. I don't think all these stories are lies, but I just think there's something other about them, that the pattern is the same. It's just back then it was like the Smithsonian was coming.
There's time travelers bringing back the Home Depot skeletons and put them in the ground. They're like, we're really going to throw them for a loop. Well, case solved.
That makes me want to go bury a Home Depot skeleton.
We actually should be awesome. That looks so cool.
That'd be so funny.
That'd be so cool.
Oh my goodness. But here we are, like same county. Not far away. We were talking to them. They said, what, Brewersville, was 5 miles away or something like that?
Not far.
Here's mounds with giant skeletons.
All this stuff pops up time and time again.
We talked about the Crossley monster on this other episode. He must have told us 6-8 stories about Crossley.
Oh, nonstop.
Tonight.
Yeah.
One after another, these people being attacked. Like
really?
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't get to hear these stories.
Yeah, it's wild. And the other thing about the Crossley monster stories is that he also said the Crossley monster stuff is like 5 miles away.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, he's like, yeah, they got that Crossley monster over there. I'm like, that's 5 miles. You have it here. Like,
yeah,
this is the same place.
Yeah. In terms of the other, 5 miles is nothing.
No, and there's granted there's an arbitrary like municipal boundary between there.
Right.
That's really
But
funny.
the other doesn't give a crap about that.
Right.
This is the same place.
Yeah.
It's not that they have the Crossley monster and then you got this thing over here. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the first thing I thought is like,
that is
absolutely.
actually.
I know you're Crossley monster because he was tramping through the woods last night while we were camping.
Yeah.
Or whatever that is.
Yeah, that's really funny. That's a really funny way to.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely the same thing.
They're taking like an invisible border that we made, and they're going, "Oh yeah, he doesn't. That's where he lives.
He lives in the nature
he
preserve.
stays over there."
Yeah. These things don't abide state lines or dimensional lines, even. You know, or much less
presumably
staying in a nature preserve.
Yeah.
One of the stories he told us was a group of high school kids that were running, and one of the kids got ahead of the other ones.
Ooh.
And ran out of sight. They were just running on these roads through this crossing.
Okay.
And when they caught up to him, they heard him screaming, right?
Yeah, they heard him screaming.
And
so then they all like...
They take off at a sprint trying to find him. They come up to him. He's like in a ditch.
I know this story. Yeah.
And they said they like touched him and he like freaked out because he was like hiding in a ditch. And he said he's running and he said something big and hairy came out and just, I don't know if it just ran him over or whatever it did. He said it was all over him and it stunk bad.
Wow.
And he was terrified. So that's just one of like the 6 or 8 stories about Crossley he told us tonight. Women seeing about a game warden seeing the Bigfoot there.
Face to face.
Yeah. One of his buddies had an encounter there. That's where the other witness, John, said his friend saw Bigfoot there in the 80s or 70s or 80s.
The one near the cave or out of the cave.
Yeah. So this area, it's fraught with these sightings. And again, it's unclear. One of the old articles talks about this pond, and they say there was a monster in the pond in Crossley as well. And it's unclear whether that was they were saying like people saw this same monster in the pond, or there's like a pond monster there
like a
as well.
sea monster kind of thing.
Yeah, it was unclear in the article.
Which I wouldn't be surprised, because even places that have all this stuff have sea monsters. It's absurd.
I half think like we're out looking for Bigfoot. We're seeing fireballs and UFOs. I was going to make a joke that like I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 3 lizard men and a sand-down clown. You know what I mean? Like
I'd love to see a sand down.
Wow, that's my favorite.
I love it.
Like just like, oh, okay. All right, sure.
I would love to see a sea serpent. That'd be scary as hell. That'd be so spooky.
Or like
Show me a fish man.
Coming out of that pond.
Oh my god, like Black Lagoon type monster. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
People see those kinds of things.
So this place, I mean, it's wild. It's the other is present.
And has been here for a very long time.
Yeah, it seems that way. I asked John and Julie about the mount. They knew already. Oh yeah, the giants. Yeah, that's the bones washed away at the mill.
Yeah, they knew these details, these like fine details of this story. It's like how much stuff. It's like people won't tell you a thing until you press it. It's like, hey, you know what? Oh yeah. It's like they remember.
Oh, yeah, the giants. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Oh yeah, of course. Those giants that live here.
Giants.
Oh yeah, that glowing man on that glowing horse. I remember that now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that orb that flew 100 yards from where we're sleeping.
Yeah, it's right here.
If 100, it might be 70 yards from where we're sleeping.
Yeah.
Just flew right by.
That's the one she saw.
Yeah.
And her dad, son-in-law of the man who's had the Monkey Man house, he saw that silver orb to the basketball size that came across this body of water that's right in front of us.
Really?
Yeah, there was the story where
Did he tell us this last time? Or?
Told us the story last time where there were because the man who lived in this house passed away after that incident. This house was vacant, and someone called them and said, "Hey, we're seeing lights down there. We think someone might be scoping that house out." They thought maybe someone was going to come in here because they knew it was vacant to steal, to rob the place. So just like most folks in this area, rather than call the cops, he strapped himself up, hopped on his four-wheeler. He's got his wife with the binocs out the window and the walkie-talkie, and he comes out here from behind and is waiting for the car that they think is scoping the place out to pull up on here. And so he's sitting with his four-wheeler at the end of this pond, so he's got full visibility, kind of tucked under a tree. And when he sees the light coming up the road, he thinks, "Oh, here they come." But instead, that light turns, and it's a ball of light, a silver basketball-sized orb that flies straight toward him, crossing the body of water, and right before it gets to him, goes straight up into the air over the trees.
Wow, I'd forgotten that story.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And, of course, his response was like, "I guess they're testing drones out or something." He goes,
Which is what his daughter said.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you... it's like, why do you...
But he was like, he even said, it was the weirdest kind of drone because I couldn't see any propulsion system and it was silent. And I'm like, that was not a drone. That's not how drones work.
So, yeah. And that's what they said when they said, "Oh, we're seeing weird lights in the sky." Like, well, they test a lot of drones around here. Like, yeah, but does this drone fly like a bumblebee back and forth and jerk and like look like it's on the surface of water and bounce and you know, like what would be the purpose of flying a drone like that?
Exactly.
You know, like, and
it's very strange.
Well, you can see satellites here. It's like, yeah, satellites are
they just
nice, clean, straight.
Yeah.
But like I said, they live with it.
Yeah.
They live with it, and I think because the military is close by, that becomes an easy. Oh yeah, it's the military.
Easy out. Yeah, like guess something more.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what all the other things that they still haven't remembered to tell us.
I know. The longer we spend with them,
they're like, "Oh, this other thing."
We're planning on sort of having a neighborhood get together with them and John and Julie. I bet more stories come up.
Yeah.
I bet whatever money's in my wallet right now, at least we will get at least one story we haven't heard.
Yeah.
The longer we talk to them. Oh yeah.
So many things.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Really incredible place.
Yeah. Absolutely love it.
And incredible people.
Yeah. And everybody's wondering when we're going to tell the full story. And we will. We will tell the full story. We're working on it. It's coming.
Still being written.
Well, yeah. The story may never have an end.
Yeah.
But we will tell what has happened so far, and we will put it together, and it's coming. We're working it out, and we're working as fast as we can on it because we want it. We want to tell it too.
It will be coming soon.
And we're super excited about it.
It will be coming soon.
We're not being lazy about this. We're trying to make something that we're happy with and something that is a proper expression of the story. We're going to tell it. We promise. We promise. I promised you before, and I figured it out. It took me a while to sort of figure out how to tell it. Once we figured that out, we hit the ground running, and we're going to do it. It's going to take some work. but it's coming.
We've been doing some of that work today.
Exactly. That's part of the reason for this second trip is to do some of that work, to get things ready to tell that story. So I promise you, everyone, we will be telling the story. You will be able to hear the story. It's coming. Jon and Tyler, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
You've brought us a dragon, Allison.
Not a real big one.
It is a dragon nonetheless, and it's holding treasure. It appears to be holding treasure. And it's got shiny eyes. You looked it up. You said you think it's one of the Ralpartha ones?
I think it is. I can't, my eyes are not great. I can't read what's in the
Yeah.
bottom of it. I think it definitely says 1984 on it.
So it's a cool little, I guess, pewter dragon?
Could be lead. I
Could
don't
be
know.
lead. Yeah, don't,
Except for the great age of lead.
yeah, don't chew on it.
Yeah.
Don't eat it. Don't keep it in your mouth. I don't think we've had a dragon yet. We might have had a print of a dragon or something at some point.
I don't know. Yeah, so it's a 1984 dragon. It was a good vintage for dragons.
It was. It was a good year for dragons.
Summer Olympics in Los Angeles that year. I'm trying to think of other 1984 facts.
I got nothing.
You got nothing for 1984?
Nah, I wasn't even born yet. Anyway,
What were the big hits then?
I have no clue. This is a you question.
I'm going to say Relax. I think that was a big hit, wasn't it? Wasn't Frankie Goes to Hollywood? Wasn't that a big 1984 hit?
I cannot tell you. Do not
The
know.
Wild Boys, Duran Duran. Let me look it up. Let's see.
Let's talk about this dragon first while you're looking it up. So this will be our curiosity of the week. I'll take a photo of this dragon, and I will put it in the show notes. And if you click on that photo, it'll take you to our Etsy shop, where you can purchase that and other curiosities of the week, those that are left. While you're at our Etsy shop, you can check out our other wares, including Strange Familiars t-shirts. We've got the new blue Eyes of Night design, which is looking nice. I don't keep every Strange Familiar shirt, design for myself, but that's one of the ones I kept. I really like that one. Check that out. We have the Awoken Tree in blue, in Strange Familiars blue, the original. That's back in stock in all sizes, small through 3X, I believe, at this point. That hasn't been in stock in some of the sizes in a while. So that's back in stock. We still have the Mothman design. I think that's in all sizes. We still have that left. Maybe one or two of the glow-in-the-dark.
In the smaller sizes, like small and medium or something?
I forget. You can check it out on Etsy. There's just one or two left of the glow-in-the-dark Awoken Tree design, and very few of the Black Dog as well. We do have a few of those around. Pick up a new Strange Familiar shirt. We also have patches and stickers and mugs and more. You can get copies of my books there. If you get them from us from Etsy, they come signed. I'll sign them before we pack them up. Artwork, original Zen prints are there. Go ahead and check it out. Our Etsy shop name is Lost Grave. If you type in Strange Familiars, you should see our stuff come up on Etsy. There's also links in the show notes to our Etsy shop. What'd you find out about 1984?
Relax was released in 1984. So was Wild Boys, but in late October. So the odds of it being popular at a time I remember, that's probably a false memory. It was probably 1985.
All right. Well, we've solved that.
Have you ever seen the original video for Frankie Goes to Hollywood?
Maybe. I don't know. I think if I have, it's something you showed me at some point.
Ooh, it was like quite a different beast.
We'll be back soon with more Strange Familiars.
Want to continue spooky season after the 31st? Would you like to dive deeper into the world of the paranormal, the occult, cryptozoology, and other unexplainable topics? Then the Strange Realities Conference is the right one for you. Live and online in Nashville, Tennessee, November 1st and 2nd at SIR Nashville, and November 3rd online only. Strange Realities Conference 2024 will feature presentations by Tim Banal, Nathan Isaac, Kendall Lackey, Brent Rains, Micah Hanks, Ren Collier, Joshua Cutchin, Recluse, Nevaeh Terry, and Steve Berg as your Master of Ceremonies. Online with presentations by Soraya Ascath, Timothy Renner, Katie Andrews, Robert Guffey, Greg Bishop, and Becky Ann Galentine. Tickets are $70 in person whole weekend or $30 online and are available at strangerealitiesconference.com. Don't miss this amazing opportunity to learn from some of the best spooktacular minds in the field of the paranormal.
Since the dawn of civilization, a man has looked to the skies with the question, are we alone? For centuries, we've tried to explain the unexplainable and justify some of the world's greatest wonders. The Great Pyramids, Stonehenge, the incredible statues of Easter Island, sightings of UFOs all across the globe. And then one day in 1974,
an unidentified flying object that reportedly fell from the sky Saturday night into the silt pond adjoining the Carbondale area high school football field and emitted a bright glow for 9 hours still remains as far as Carbondale police are concerned.
several explanations were offered to the public, but the mystery grew and became woven into the culture of our great community. Area 51? Overrated. Roswell? Never heard of her. On November 9th, we celebrate the event that put Carbondale on the map. The first annual Carbondalian Festival will take place in downtown Carbondale and celebrate all things supernatural. Come and join us for an epic event unlike any you've ever seen. Awesome vendors, live music, special guests, and interactive activities for the whole family. Don't miss the opportunity to experience what's sure to be the first of many events showcasing our city's rich and colorful history. We'll see you there.
Go to carbondalianfestival.com for more information. Strange Familiars is a production of Dark Holler Arts. Intro and background music is by Stone Breath. If you want to hear more or purchase music, you can go to stonebreath.bandcamp.com. We're on Instagram at Strange Familiars, one word, no underscore. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Strange Familiars. The Strange Familiars Gathering group is there as well. For Strange Familiars merch, it's strangefamiliars.com/merch. And strangefamiliars.com is where you can find us all the time.
Sunlight moves the deep shadows across the ground. The sun doth fall behind the trees and turns the leaves, and so they touch like praying hands. Listen and you can understand that wood could spread across the land, were it not for the hand of man. Choice was made before your birth to curse the earth, and you can follow all your days or turn away and walk into the holy wood, where it is wholly understood the true cross and the holy rood are growing true and right and good. Mercy, I cry city upon my mind. All dead and grey, fall away come the day when old steel towers down, and cracking concrete is the sound as the forest reclaims the town.
So we are probably here around the fire in Indiana. In the woods where John and Julie were, well, they had their temporary gifting site. They didn't use it much. They stopped using it. And where John said he had the creepiest of his experiences was in this area. And he said nobody would camp here.
Here we are.
So here we are, camping.
Camping in the spot. He's uncomfortable and felt nobody.
But we're just here having a good time. Sipping coffee, enjoying the fire.
Yeah. This is also next to the field where we see many things, but where we saw the fireball last trip. Say hi, John.
Hey there.
Say hi, Tyler.
Hello, hello.
So today we hiked the original Witch Diggers article. They talk about Rocky Ravine. The original Witch Diggers article that we read on episode 4, and then all of the when we read it again, when we covered it again. And that's where they saw the wild man in Rocky Ravine, the hairy wild man holding an axe. So we hiked through there today, all the way around to the witch ditch.
It got really wet.
Yeah, it was a heck of a hike.
I walked through the water.
Yeah, you got more wet than we did.
I wanted to film a walkthrough of Rocky Ravine and had to wade through the water to get the shot.
Yeah,
Tyler took one for the team.
it's definitely up to your thighs.
Uh-huh.
And we ate at the local place that we've nicknamed the Flannel Man Bar.
That was an experience.
Yeah.
Chatted with some of the locals.
Yep. Who thought we were, for some reason, military?
Everyone assumed we were there for the military, which was very odd.
Yeah. I guess maybe they don't get too many strangers coming through.
No, they definitely looked us a little bit when we walked in.
They were nice though.
Yeah, super
They
friendly.
were friendly. There's people sitting with us, were joking with us. And,
They're all having a good time.
yeah.
Tim with his standard issue military haircut
and
facial hair.
Yeah.
Oh man. Tyler was at least wearing camo fatigues, or pants anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had a little bit of camo on you.
I did have BDUs on, but they were cut off.
Yeah.
Like old school olive green or army green, whatever that is, BDUs.
We should have just leaned into it and been like, yeah, we have a real big monster problem around here.
We're here for a project.
I
we
was
can't really
kind
talk
of
about.
hoping like organically it would come up, and then we could talk to those guys about it. But I only if it came up organically. I didn't want to just be like,
Hey, you guys ever seen Bigfoot? Well, you guys ever seen Bigfoot around here?
Hear that?
I heard it.
Yeah. Well, it was Bigfoot checking in. I heard his name.
We heard lots of crazy noises last night.
Oh, yeah.
From outside
Insane
this
voice.
woodland.
Yeah.
And now we're here on the inside.
Oof.
What was that?
Jeez, something went psh, and like it shot a bunch of sparks out, like gas. I don't know.
Fire pop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we-
steam.
We,
yeah.
sounded like a Bigfoot clearing his throat at some point last night. Low machinery sounds. Saw,
Unearthly wailing.
yeah,
Some prolonged wail.
lights
Insane lights.
that looked like they blinked into existence and then danced around the sky like
I mean, I was surprised at what we saw yesterday.
something organic, I guess. It's a shame to call them UFO. I mean, they are literally unidentified objects in the sky.
Sure.
But, you know,
They certainly don't have the feel of like somebody referencing them as like a spacecraft.
right?
They feel like an organic kind of thing, the way like you'd see like an insect flying around the sky. It's I don't know. It's bizarre. Feel like ghosts.
Some things moving around up on the hill.
Yeah.
Our hosts, who we're calling John, is super generous with all kinds of things, including a nice set of thermals, which I'm going to pop open right now.
Oh, very cool.
Nice. Good.
See what's floating around in the woods around us.
Yeah.
Fire's gonna look crazy.
Fire will look crazy.
Yeah, you might have to get on the other side of the fire.
I'd love to see what that looks like,
Blow it
actually.
out.
Let me see what that looks like too after you're done.
Yeah, I'll
So
pass it
curious.
around.
We talked to a local about. I liked her take on this. When we said about weird lights we see, and she's like, "Yeah," and we're like, "Well, what about that? Like, is it?" And she's just like, "No, it's just the way. It's just the sky here. It's just like matter of fact." She didn't seem terribly shocked by everything we were telling her that we saw.
Yeah, it was interesting. She was more so like almost like she might not notice it because our abnormal is just their normal for what they see, you know, like on the
Yeah.
regular, so they don't really understand that the stuff in the sky here at night isn't like standard stuff. It's
Yeah.
I mean, we asked her if she'd seen anything strange or anything happen since we've seen her last, which was what, 5 months ago, 6 months ago? And she's like, no, not really. And then proceeds to tell us all the crazy she saw, because for her it's just normal stuff.
what's it look like? What's the fire look like?
Fire looks like white.
Is it just white? Let's see.
Pure whiteness. Oh gosh.
Oh, is that cool? It's very contrasted though, like
Yeah.
oh man, I love this thermal.
I wasn't picking up anything else.
What does this adjustment do? You can increase the brightness on it.
Yeah, there's a couple
Oh wow.
things you can do in there.
Okay, we had it around 7. Well, you can still see the heat from the engine
Yeah.
and the tires.
Makes you wonder too if there's weird stuff out here, if that weird stuff's even gonna get picked up on the thermals.
Right.
I think about that because, like, do they even give off heat?
Do
know?
ghosts turn up on thermals?
Right, that's the thing. Do ghosts give off heat? I don't know if they do.
Do fairies? are we dealing, like, not now, but in general, are people dealing with a forest poltergeist until it manifests otherwise?
Yeah.
Until it manifests as something that can, leave footprints and put its hands on things. Is it just a forest poltergeist until that point?
That's got me thinking too, like this idea of a forest poltergeist. When I think of that concept, I think of like, here we are in this space, and like the forest poltergeist is something that is present here or that is inhabiting this place, as opposed to the idea that the forest poltergeist is the place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it something that is here, or is it the here?
Yeah, I would lean towards the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, or rather than
the woods being haunted by something.
Yeah, rather than the woods being haunted by something, like what people experience is actually the place itself expressing something. Like, it's an expression of the place and not something that is visiting.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I lean more towards that.
That feels
certainly.
way more.
Mm-hmm.
That makes way more sense to me. Feels more accurate. With
Definitely sounds up that hill.
Yeah.
And I can't tell what's going on. And I thought the first time I popped my light on, I thought I saw,
Well, even when you
red up there, but I can't say for sure.
Well, even when you talk about things like fairies and aspects of that, even when you look at that topic, there's a lot of aspects of that where you could look at them as being localized spirits or spirits of place, which is why you have a lot of overlapping folklore with even like rocks and trees having their own spirit. This earth spirit that presents in different ways. I think there's certainly something to that.
I mean, in many ways, I'm not, until I know, it's going to be hard to pin me down and make me say, like, this is what Bigfoot is. But in many ways, it's hard for me to think of it as something other than a genus loci, like a spirit place. It's like, it seems so tied to the land and so tied to these places. We're back after, 6 months? We're here again.
Let's see, April, May, June,
Oh,
July,
yeah.
August. Yeah, about 6.
Try to keep us away. We'll be back again. There was a point, and we will talk about this at some point, but now's not the time to talk about it, but we can just mention there was a point of extreme paranoia the last time we were here. You hear that?
Yeah. Sounds like a howl in the distance.
Yeah.
There it goes again. Ooh. That ain't no coyote.
No.
That couldn't be an owl.
Not that loud, I don't think.
It's like a different type.
Still going.
There is an owl too, but I don't think that was an owl. Is that an oak up there? Can you tell?
Which one are you?
Just the tall one up there. Right here.
Now the smoke just got right in my eyes.
Even taller behind it. See that?
Oh, way in the back.
You tell if that's an oak? I'm wondering if it's acorns dropping that we're hearing.
It's very possible. There are a ton of acorns around.
Yeah.
That seems likely.
Yeah.
It makes sense that oak would be the tallest canopy tree.
To get back to what I was saying, we had this incident of extreme paranoia one night, and it kind of leads into this thing we were talking about as we were driving here to camp tonight. Here, not here on the way to Indiana. About like, is there something wrong or different or whatever about us? Like, you think that that incident, you know, for many people would be enough. I'm done. I'm out. Some of the weirdness around Hellier, Tyler,
Sure.
for a lot of people, I would think would be enough.
Sure.
I'm out. I'm done. That's it. Things are too weird. And yet we keep coming back.
Keep coming back. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's something interesting to be said about that. You know, like part of that idea, it popped in my head because there's like stuff moving right now.
Yeah.
Like, even when you look at certain abductees, you know, the way they might talk about their experiences, it's almost like there's a part of it they don't really process. It's almost like they don't really I don't know, but it almost seems like we don't process fear correctly.
Yeah, and I'm
from
trying
time to time. Like,
I'm trying to
I don't really feel it. I don't.
I'm trying to like parse that out because
Yeah.
I've said it before and I admit it. Like, I get scared sometimes.
Yeah.
out
I
here.
get freaked out in the woods.
I get sometimes.
You know,
I get, and there is a very addictive element to it. I think maybe for us, I don't know. That definitely keeps me coming back to the point where sometimes it's hard to turn it off. You know.
Sure.
But yeah, is it about processing fear? Is it about the thrill? You know,
there is a sort of excitement in it. I guess maybe it's like I don't think fear necessarily equates to negativity.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, I think people take a scary experience and they'll take that experience and equate it to a negative one.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the case.
Not
and
always, certainly.
And I think it's an interesting aspect of this phenomena where fear seems to be a necessary mechanism of it to give people a experience. You know, so if we look at the microcosm of this, you know, right now it's October. Why is it that people go to haunted houses?
Right.
You know, fear isn't always a negative space.
Right.
In fact, I would argue there's an aspect of people that seek it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but they do that on their own terms typically, you know, which is why I like to use that analogy of the haunted house, the haunted attraction, if you will. But there's an element, I think, to that with this sort of thing.
You're going to hear us pause a lot because we're in the middle of these woods and we are hearing sounds.
All directions at this point.
So we pause to look around. I don't know how many of these sounds are picking up on the recorder, if any. But we're hearing them.
I bet that one picked up.
That was a good little crack.
It's pretty loud.
We heard a good knock when we first got here, before the recorder was on.
Yeah.
A good loud knock.
You're just setting up and
Yeah.
we're just setting up in the nighttime.
Hard to be fluent with words when simultaneously zoned out on a fire.
I know.
It's very hard to talk. I just want to say that. just want to put that on record right now.
Yeah.
It's hard to talk right now.
Keeping an ear and an eye out around us.
Yeah, we have.
There's a lot going on.
Yes,
There's a lot going on. Our attentions are split.
multitasking here.
I may think back to the fear thing too. I also think fear is like most human emotions are just a messenger. It gives you information about yourself in relation to your surroundings, and taking it in that way can have you feel it a little bit differently, I think.
That's a good wording for it. I like what you said there, a messenger. It's a different kind of messenger. Yeah, I don't know. There's something to that. Again, the words escape me tonight. You know, I'm not so fluent with my speech, but you know, even if we look at art, you know, obviously there's people who have a certain draw to certain kinds of art. I make a certain kind of art. I don't make it because there's some kind of obsession, you know, with you know, something that's perceived as dark. I just feel like things that adopt a certain imagery, when it crosses that kind of threshold into fear, it makes those experiences more visceral, more real, in a way that aren't as impactful as experiences that generate other types of emotion. You know, I think they get etched in a different way, and it's like fear is the mechanism for confrontation of a thing. You know, like whether it be going into unfamiliar woods or going into that cave. You know, like I think this stuff sort of needs that struggle. At least one part.
It does too. Like fear also, because of what fear is and what message it holds, it sharpens your attention and focus and observation skills. And so, sort of something right behind me. If there's fitting the conversation, if there's fear going on, you're going to be more likely to notice the weird things out there because your senses are sharpened.
That's a good point.
It's like the opposite of complacency.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, and I think that's a big part of it. You know, if you look at even you know, any altered state of mind, there's so many different phases of it.
Yeah.
You know, and like what you're saying, it's like it retains a different focus. I think that unlocks things that other aspects can't. We're like stumbling and mumbling through our word soup.
Yeah. Well, and I'm gonna go check out what's going on in the dark over here. And for the listeners at home, that's code that I have to pee.
The idea was to do this roundtable. We thought it'd be great. Around the fire. It was a great idea.
It's very, very difficult, actually.
Yeah.
We might come back to it. It's like I kind of feel like half hypnotized by the fire.
Between that and the part of it is hearing stuff around us, and part of it is just learning the sounds of where we are too.
Yeah.
Certainly never camped here before. Ooh, did you hear that?
No. What was it?
Another one of those howls. Did you hear that howl, John?
I did not. Well, I was crunching in the leaves coming back.
We need more energy to be talking into this recorder. We need to be a little more
animated.
A little more animated. We're not very animated right now.
It's late in the day, man. What a day we had.
We had a rigorous day. Thought I broke my nose earlier.
Yeah, I had to check Tyler for broken bones.
A piece of my tent came loose and a metal pole smashed me right across the face. Right across the bridge of my nose. It still hurts.
You're in rough shape.
I was real upset about it. I was trying to wake up here.
I think we're tired, but also I think we're, at least me, I'm interested in figuring out what's howling in the background.
Can't even talk. You can't even finish. We can't even finish a single sentence.
What's howling in the background? What's walking
Time
around?
to delete this recording. Throw this one in the fire.
Yeah, we could try again.
We're drunk on exhaustion.